Welcome back, Dynasty lovers, to another episode of the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Adrian, with my co-host,
Scott Martin.
We are less than a week away from the NFL Draft. And it can't come soon enough. Well, okay, we still got some scouting to do here, but I can't wait. I can't wait to be done watching film. But I don't know. I think this is the NFL Draft is like Christmas for adults who love football.
Oh yeah, best day of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun time of year, and this is we have the wide receiver 2 show. So, but on the show today we have Erik Ezukanma out of Texas Tech, Danny Gray out of SMU, Velus Jones Jr. out of Tennessee, Drake London out of USC, Bo Melton out of Rutgers, John Metchie out of Alabama, Skyy Moore out of Western Michigan, and then we finish it off with Chris Olave out of Ohio State University. I will never say the Ohio State University. I think that's just stupid. But we'll start it off. Erik Ezukanma out of Texas Tech. So he came in at the combine at 6'2", 209, 9 3/8 inch hands. Did not run the 40, but put up a 36.5 vertical and a 126-inch broad jump.
So 70th percentile vertical, 84th percentile broad jump. At his pro day, he ran a 4.55, 33rd percentile. He had a 7.23 cone, 11th percentile. And he didn't improve his vertical, but he did put up 10 reps on the bench, 15th percentile.
And as far as production, he had very steady production over the past 3 years. Averaged around 45 catches per year and then around 700 yards per year. This past year, he had 45 catches, 705 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's for a 15.7 yards per catch average throughout his college career. So Erik Ezukanma, I had to say that name multiple times to get it right. But as far as what I saw with this gentleman here, I saw things that were good and then sort of I would say limited ceiling. I think he has a floor, but the ceiling's probably pretty limited. And he's a little bit above average on most things and really not great at anything per se. I thought his hands were strong, but he had a 7.8% drop rate throughout the 2021 season. Then I think he offers maybe a little bit above average long speed. He has some above average quickness. He's not afraid to go over the middle, so he's a sort of a multi-dimensional route runner from that standpoint. He's a bigger guy at that 6'2", 209. That being said, he does have a limited route tree, and his routes aren't the crispest then. And then he can be susceptible to press on the outside then. But he was sort of the go-to guy at Texas Tech here this past couple years then, but never resulted in huge production. But like I said, I think he's okay, but maybe more in that 4th or 5th round okay in your rookie drafts. Not a guy you're drafting high. I don't think he's going to be drafted high in the NFL draft. I think he's probably going to be more that a later round pick then. But like I said, I'm not thrilled with him. I gave him a 67. Which is not undraftable in your rookie drafts, but it's not a guy I'm necessarily going out and getting.
So yeah, I think we saw him pretty similar. He's that guy that has a pretty safe floor for production, but a pretty low ceiling. So it's like he's not a guy you're going to be thrilled about starting. At best, I feel like he probably could become a flex starter for you in a really good spot. But he's a guy that's going to be drafted in the NFL draft, no doubt. He's going to be a solid wide receiver 3 on a team. And if he has a great landing spot, he could have eventually some production. The big thing that steps out that he really excels at is he's a physical guy. And that's why I think he operates better in some instances out of the slot, because he catches the ball in traffic really well. He gets his pads down after the catch, and he'll hit you like a running back. He breaks a lot more tackles than you'd expect. And, when he gets the ball in his hands, he can make a few moves and sort of get some yards after the catch. So he did pretty good there. it's sort of the other stuff. So, like, the release off the ball is just a little above average. He doesn't have the fastest feet. His separation underneath is more from him being physical. He does have some suddenness, but his route tree needs to be a lot more defined. He can run a hitch, he can run a cross, he runs these streaks and catches these sort of jump balls, but you don't see a lot of other stuff on tape. Some of that could be the offense too, but I need to see more. Hands are a little above average, 4 drops on 74 targets, and he's a guy that can go back and get that, back shoulder throw. His catch radius is a little above average, but he's not a high flyer. So he's a little above average to good in basically every category except his speed and quickness, and he's not special in anything. So he got a 66 for me, pretty similar grade. All that being said, you get a good landing spot. This is a guy that maybe you could take a late round flyer on, and he's safe. He's a safe member of your team that can give you some depth. So we'll see what happens with him. He's an okay prospect.
Yeah, he gives you that depth. Probably a guy you're maybe not be able to cut because he's going to be like a wide receiver 3 on some team. But unless the top 2 guys go down, you're not ever playing them.
Yep.
So, but yeah, like I said, it doesn't hurt to gamble on him just as far as maybe some potential in that 4th, 5th round. But like I say, he's not a top end guy. Next on the list, Danny Gray, SMU, 6 foot, 186, 9 5/8 hands. Then, pretty fast. Ran a 4.33 40. A 34-inch vertical, 126-inch broad jump. So where are those coming in at?
So 97th percentile 40, 39th percentile vertical, 84th percentile broad jump. He didn't have any measurables at his pro day.
And as far as production, he only had 2 years at SMU, but his 2021 season had 49 catches, 803 yards, and 9 touchdowns, averaged 15.3 yards per catch. So I'll let you start off with Danny Gray. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, number one, he's got elite top-end speed off the jump. He creates easy downfield separation. And then the rest of everything else isn't very good. His release is a little above average. He flies off the ball, so you got that. So teams were legit feared pressing him, so they just laid off. If he had a physical corner on him, though, with his size, he'd just be rerouted, pushed all around the field. And you saw that with his route running, too. Unless he was running these sort of straight line routes where he's using his speed to sort of separate, he doesn't really create much. One, he doesn't run many other routes, so his route tree is not very defined. And I feel like there's times that he didn't feel the openings very well. He left a little bit to be desired as a route runner. His hands were not very good. He had 7 drops on 72 targets. And
he had the dropsies.
He was a body catcher a lot of times.
But that was a 12.5% drop rate. That's close to tops of the class.
When somebody, you can tell when people don't trust their hands and they're moving fast because they, 1, slow down, and 2, use their body a lot. And this guy doesn't slow down, but he uses his body a lot to catch the ball. His contested catch is above average. His body control is above average, but this is a guy that the quarterback play at SMU is not good. There's a lot of opportunities to show off that catch radius, show off that ability to sort of adjust to the ball in the air on these poorly underthrown balls, and he didn't track the ball as good as he should. I don't know if the balls were just that bad, but he didn't really show a lot of plus ability there. He's a little above average physical-wise, but just not much to hang your hat on. And other than home run speed to go to the house, he's not really going to make a lot of people miss. He's not going to break a lot of tackles. And it shows up like sort of with his quickness, his elusiveness, his he's just a one-speed route runner that doesn't show a lot of variation. So I wasn't very impressed with him. He got a 64 for me. I think he's just a field stretcher at the next level, and that's about it. I don't know that he's somebody I'm really interested in drafting.
Agreed. He's just he's a track star. That's all he is. His main speed is straight line speed. He has pretty, I wouldn't say poor hands, but he has at least average hands. And his yak, even though he's that fast, it's only like if he's wide open, he gets that yards after catch. It's not like he's breaking tackles. It's not like he's juking people. And you said his physicality was average. I thought his physicality was pretty poor. He didn't show much in that regard. And like I said, I don't see much translating to the NFL other than he's going to be. He may catch a long pass for 60 yards, a touchdown every 10 games or so. But you're never playing him. So I'm out on Danny Gray unless it's an absolutely great landing spot. He's great draft capital. Danny Gray is, like I said, I thought I would like him. There's some people out there put him as like a sleeper as far as being this next small school breakthrough guy. But I didn't see it.
No, I mean, his ceiling is like a Demarcus Robinson field stretcher in Kansas City. That's it. You can roster him if you want, but you're never going to play him. So that's his ceiling.
Yeah.
Moving on.
One of Scotty's Tennessee boys, Velus Jones Jr. Should be Velus Jones Sr. because he's going to be 25 years old here very shortly. And this is a guy that actually decided to transfer to Tennessee then as opposed to transfer away Tennessee and becoming a superstar. So he is a six-year senior. So that tells you a lot there. But athletic profile-wise, so he was 6 foot, 204 pounds, 9 3/4 inch hands at the combine. He ran a 4.31 40, 33-inch vertical, and 121-inch broad jump.
So 98th percentile 40, 26th percentile vertical, 53rd percentile broad jump. At his pro day, he didn't improve his vertical. He didn't improve the broad jump. He put up 18 reps on the bench, which is 82nd percentile, and he ran a 7.32 3-cone, which was 5th percentile.
So since he's a Tennessee boy, transferred from USC, had 2 years at Tennessee, so production-wise, best years were at Tennessee. So in this past year was by far his most productive year. In 2021, he had 62 catches, 807 yards, and 7 touchdowns, averaged 12.7 yards per catch. So, Scotty, Mr. Tennessee, tell us about this. Tell us about this grandpa.
This is a guy who has traits that will absolutely translate. He will definitely be drafted at least by the 4th round. I'll be shocked if he's not drafted by the 4th round. The primary reason he's going to be drafted is this dude is a special teams ace. He might be the best special teams returner in the draft, especially kick returner. But I'll just take him from the top, and then you can tell me what you think. But he got a higher grade than I thought he would. He was a 67 for me. So he is strictly a catch and run guy. His route running, I know this new Tennessee offense with Josh Heupel, it's tough because it's one of those air raid offenses where a lot of times receivers take plays off because they're literally running a play like every 7 seconds. But they just don't run a lot of various routes. You get a lot of downfield routes, you get a lot of quick routes. So it's kind of tough to watch the translation. But he doesn't create a lot of separation on his routes, regardless. He doesn't have a lot of suddenness with his routes, and you see that with that 7.32 3-cone. He definitely is going to have to improve his route tree. He didn't have a route that really defined him. Nothing really special there. And I don't know that he can run an NFL route right now. I feel like he is a guy you have to run screens for and just get the ball in his hands. He's a guy that you could run sweeps, you could run these little pitch plays, and he could excel. He reminds you of Cordarrelle Patterson in a lot of ways. I think Patterson was a better route runner than him, but he's got very good hands.
About the same edge. He's about the same age as Cordarrelle Patterson, right?
Yeah. Real cute. His hands are pretty good. He only had 3 drops on 81 targets. He can catch the ball away from his body and snag balls. So that's good. His ball skills are not gonna wow you. He's not a go up and get it, jump out the gym type of guy. He can't sort of create that way. So again, limited to that sort of, you got to get the ball in his hands at the line of scrimmage and then let him attack with his speed. After he gets the ball in his hands, you are going to have a tough time tackling him. You're going to have a tough time catching him. You're going to have a tough time touching him. He is super, super tough to bring down. And he's not a guy that's going to he doesn't have that juke you, make you miss in a phone booth stuff. But what he does have, he has this little sort of shuffle your feet. He can stop really quick, sort of shuffle his feet, and then start right back at the same speed so he doesn't lose a lot of speed. And that's why he's such a dynamite returner. He's got elite top end speed, and he uses that little move every time, and it keeps people off balance and allows them to take it to the house. He looks like a one-cut running back, sort of in space. So he's got plus skills. He just has to go somewhere that will use it. Is this going to translate to fantasy? I mean, he's got to have the perfect type of landing spot in order for him to contribute on day one. So he's not a guy that is very high on my draft board just because of that narrow sort of fit. But he's a guy to take a great late round flyer on if he goes somewhere that will use him that way. So, like I said, he's probably going to go higher in drafts than you want because he's going to have some draft capital because of his special teams ability. But he's farther down my board just because of that narrow sort of ability.
Yeah, I agree with mostly what you're saying there. I don't think he's going to be drafted in the 4th round. He'll be drafted, and he will make an NFL team. So if you want a player that's safe as far as a later round pick, as far as a guy that's going to be on a team, this guy's your guy. But unless I'm out on him fantasy-wise, because unless he gets that absolutely perfect landing spot and plays day one in a bigger role day one, you're not gonna be able to see much from him. Because I said it a million times here probably so far. He's 25, so he's supposed to be in his prime right now, and it's not a long-term asset. And like I said, he has to be that guy right away. He'll be on the active roster from day one. Like I said, he's a special teams ace. He's a special teams demon. He kick returns, he punt returns, he's a gunner. He does everything very well from that standpoint. And then when the ball's in his hands, that's who he is. And he has that speed, he has that quickness, he has that run off the catch ability. But limited route tree, probably slower off the line than I would like. Not necessarily a natural catcher. It's going to take a lot of things lining up perfectly for him to be a fantasy asset for your team. Like I said, if you want someone that's safe and in the 5th round that's going to make an NFL team, this is your guy. But I don't necessarily think I'm playing safe. I'm going with those guys that have that high upside, but never really have tapped into that potential, and are definitely more that 21 years old who could sit on my practice squad for a few years. By the time he's out of the practice squad, he's going to be 27, 28 years old. So it's not a guy I necessarily go for, but I definitely see that special teams potential. And he was the SEC Special Teams Player of the Year with Jamison Williams this year. They both received it together. So definitely will be on an NFL roster and will play day one, but it's going to be special teams. So maybe Debo leaves, San Francisco gets him, and he fits into that role. But they try that with other guys like Jalen Hurd out of Tennessee. Debo Debo's special in that regard, and there's not a lot of people that can do that as well as he can. But that would be the ideal landing spot, but I just don't see it. So, like I said, I'm probably not going to be owning much of this guy unless if he gets that 4th round draft capital, maybe I'll be back in. But I don't see that. And
yeah, not a guy to spend more than a very late 4th, early 5th on, and he'll probably be taken before I would take him.
So next up on the list, a guy that a lot of mock drafts are having as the first wide receiver off the board in the NFL draft, and that's Drake London out of USC. 20.7 years old at this time. He's 6'4", 219 pounds, 9 3/8 inch hands then. Did not participate at the combine, did not participate at his pro day, but as far as his production, definitely took a significant leap this past year. Had 500 yards per year the 2 years prior, but just in 8 games he had 88 catches, so averaged 11 catches per game, and then 1,084 yards, 7 touchdowns, and he averaged 13.5 yards per catch over his career then. So Drake London, what do we say about this guy?
He didn't test at his pro day, but he ran routes and all that good stuff and looked really good. So he did have a pro day here on I think it was April 15th. So actually not long ago. Just didn't test.
He said he didn't want to run. He said, you watch the film for my speed. So I think he's going to be probably have a slower 40. And you saw that on film. That he's not the fastest guy. He does have a second gear that you can see at times when he's going on those deeper routes and has that gets the ball in space. Then, as far as other things, he has. I'll start with the cons. He's a slower release off the line. Then he runs slower routes, but he does have crisp cuts, and they used him a lot on screens. Then for a guy his size, I think more from the tackle breaking ability, because he's not really a juke you out of your socks kind of guy. He's more of a power and break tackles kind of guy. So moving on to his strengths, has very good hands on contested catches, sort of snares that ball, brings it down very naturally. His ball tracking is excellent. His body control is excellent. And he plays very, very physical. He's also a willing blocker, so he's going to help you out in the run game. I see him as this big possession wide receiver that can operate in the slot or the outside then. And he could be that prototypical number 1 guy, but he's not one of those explosive guys that's going to get these big plays. He's going to rely on volume, and he's going to be definitely a red zone monster and could get a lot of production that way and help your team out. I think I've seen few people comparing him to sort of a Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is faster than Drake London, but I do see them sort of that similar build and that similar strength in that jump ball ability. Then I don't think he's going to be as good as Mike Evans, but I do see the potential there. But it's just really, he's not really my kind of wide receiver I'm necessarily looking to go after. I want someone with a sort of a better athletic profile. So he got a pretty good grade. I gave him a 77, but it's not up there with the Trey Burks, with the Garrett Wilsons of the world, the Jameson Williams, and the Deshaun Dotson. So based on where he's going to get drafted in the NFL and then drafted in your fantasy drafts, I don't see a lot of Drake London shares slipping to me or slipping to where I am, because I'm going to be drafting other guys ahead of him. And I think there's going to be other people out there that like him a lot more and probably going to have him on draft him way before I feel comfortable with the other guys out there. Like I said, a lot depends on the NFL draft here, but like I said, he's good, but he's not necessarily the type of guy I usually go after then.
So let's get the Studley characteristics out of the way, because if you watch this guy's highlight film and only that, it's basically a you got mossed film, because this dude, there is no better grade you can give than his contested catch ability, his ball tracking ability, his body control, his physicality. He's a 10 out of 10, would recommend every single play. He plays with a high motor at all times, and he's tough from the jump. He's tough off the break. He's tough through the route, and he's tough after the catch. He has a huge catch radius, one of the highest in the class, and he can high point the ball as good as anybody. He, like I said, you got mossed happened at least a couple times a game, no doubt. And he had a 65% win rate with contested catches. That's really good. And he's just a winner, plain and simple. He, in the red zone, he's the safest option to get a touchdown every week. If he goes somewhere where there's a dynamite offense that moves the ball and he gets opportunities, he's going to be a solid fantasy producer. Now there are holes in his game, and some pretty important holes too. He's definitely not complete like Mike Evans. Mike Evans is definitely faster, definitely more complete coming out as a route runner. And so I get the comp because he has that special red zone ability, but Drake London's not quite there. Not yet, anyways. His release off the line, I thought his feet were a little above average, and obviously plays with exceptional physicality, but people are stuck to him a lot. So you have some concerns there, but the route running, like I said, people are stuck to him. He doesn't really create a lot of separation. There are cuts he makes that are quick, but if he has to make a change of direction cut and not just sort of a one cut, stick your foot in the ground, it's slow. So if he ran a 3-cone, it would be very dismal, I expect. His hands are good. They're above average. He will make some special catches. It's just he has a high drop rate. He had 8 drops on 119 targets, which is not bad, but the reason he has a higher drop rate is he's catching the ball in traffic like every play, it seems like. So that's his hands are very solid. I don't have any concerns there. Like you said, doesn't have a lot of make you miss stuff. He can throw a few moves down and make a few people miss, but it's going to be tough to bring him down. I mean, he's literally like tackling a tight end in the open field. He's very tough. And the speed, I project that he will have good build-up speed. So I graded him as having a 4.5 flat, which in our grading scale is a 6. So it's not super fast, but I think that would be the best he could run is 4.5 flat. I wouldn't be surprised to see him a little bit lower, but he's not 4.6. He's definitely in the 4.5s.
I would be surprised if he ran a 4.5. I think he's more 4.65.
Nah, he's not.
Maybe that 4.7 range.
No, he's got real good build-up speed. But I want to see the landing spot before I go invest in super high draft capital. I'm not super high. He got an 80 for me, which is really good. He's not getting out of the first round. I don't think he gets out of the first 7 picks for sure. I just don't think he's on my board. He's not going to get. He's going to be flirting with the top 5 receivers.
He needs a very accurate quarterback.
Yep, definitely.
He needs a guy that throws in tight windows. If he goes to Philadelphia, I'm out.
Yes,
out.
That's a dead killer right there for him.
I see him mock drafted a lot to the Eagles, and that would be awful.
I just want the Eagles to take no offensive weapons. That's all I would prefer.
Yeah, and I know that New England doesn't have not New England. Indianapolis doesn't have a first-round pick, but if they did, I think he'd be a great connection with like Matt Ryan.
Well, he would also complement that wide receiver room really well because I know Pittman went to USC too, but they're 2 different types of receivers, and they would play very, very nice together.
Yeah, and on all honesty, I think I like Pittman coming out of USC more.
You should. Pittman's definitely more complete
than Drake London.
Yeah,
and Drake London's
really
good.
Drafted
drafted way higher in the NFL and higher in your fantasy drafts. Like I said, it's if you don't have that perfect quarterback or that perfect offense, you could be getting yourself N'Keal Harry here. And so that's why I said I like receivers that have that speed, that quickness, that separation, because that always translates to the next level as opposed to these possession receivers, which is it's questionable.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. N'Keal Harry does not have the special ball skills that Drake London does, but that is a great comp. That might be the best comp that you can give.
Well, we'll say N'Keal Harry pre-failure in the NFL.
Pre-failure in the NFL, yeah.
We don't want to. We're not saying Drake London's a definite failure, but like I said, I think he carries more risk than a few of these other guys.
He's not a failure.
Yeah.
He's going to win day one in the red zone. So,
speaking of failures, the Rutgers offense.
Oh, man, next year we're not scouting any Rutgers players. I don't care what the hype is. I don't care what nothing. Not doing it.
So, Bo Melton, Rutgers, going to be 23 years old here very shortly. 5'11", 189, 9-inch hands. We're in a 4.35, 38-inch vertical, 121-inch broad jump, and a 6.98 three-cone drill. So, very athletic. What's the percentile, Scotty?
96th percentile, 40, 82nd percentile vertical, 53rd percentile broad jump, 46th percentile three-cone. He did have a pro day, 18 reps on the bench, 82nd percentile, and he improved his three-cone to 6.81, 75th percentile.
And as far as production, he's a fifth-year senior. In the last 3 years, he put up 400, 600 yards. So this past 2021, 5 catches, 618 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Averaged 12.3 yards per catch, which I thought would be a lot more for a guy his athletic profile here. And then I watched the tape. So I wasn't sure if it was Bo Melton, Rutgers, or just the poor quarterback play in general, but I didn't come away impressed. So I to start off with, I gave him a 59, which is definitely near the bottom of the barrel as far as things go. He has that 4.35 speed then. He's has some quickness with the ball in his hands. But after that, it was, other than having some wiggle, it wasn't that impressive. I think he needs improvement as far as his route running. Doesn't sell his routes. He gets limited separation despite his athletic profile. He's okay at the line. Has some trouble with dropsies at times then too. He has definitely trouble catching in any close contact situations then. So definitely not a contested catch guy. Needs improvement on his ball tracking. I think I was out of position on a lot of deep balls. Like I said, that can be like the quarterback as far as where the placement's supposed to be. And he's a smaller guy than too, so the physicality wasn't there. So like I said, I was surprised. I thought when I was watching like Penn State games, Big Ten, they always talked up Bo Melton on the broadcast whenever Penn State played Rutgers. But I think it was just because Rutgers didn't have anybody else, and they had to highlight somebody. But I didn't see it here. I came away very, very unimpressed with Bo Melton. But what are your thoughts? What do you think?
I want to know how many NFL teams did a double take at the NFL Combine, because it was like somebody else was doing the athletic testing, because literally he's the definition of a workout combine warrior that it just does not translate to the football field. You don't see that speed. You don't see that quickness in the three-cone. You don't see that physicality with 18 reps on the bench while he's pass block or run blocking. You don't see that jump out the gym ability. He's got a little bit of those things, but they're not plus characteristics. Where in the world is that stuff? I rewatched film. I went and looked at all these different highlight reels to see, was there something I was missing? But he got a 59 for me too.
We're on the same page. Good.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the bottom receivers in this class. His speed off the ball is a little above average. He doesn't have a lot of moves to beat press, and he'll get ate up with physical corners. He's just if you watch him run blocking, he gets blown up sometimes, and he can be easily rerouted. When he gets the ball in his hands, he goes down on first contact. He doesn't have much speed variation to his routes. Defensive backs are just not fooled, and he just doesn't create much separation. I mean, maybe a little above average. His hands are very just okay. 5 drops on only 91 targets, and he does not win with contested catches. He only had 25% success rate, and it shows up. I mean, he can go up and high point a few jump balls. You'll see a few of those on his highlight film, and his body control is a little above average, but he's not a guy that's going to break tackles when he gets the ball in space, and he might make a few people miss, but other than straight line speed, which didn't look 4.34, I don't know that he doesn't have the burst. He doesn't have the quickness. He just, man, I don't know if there's a landing spot that would even make him draftable for me. I thought I was going to love this guy because I've heard a lot of people saying he's a deep sleeper. Not for me, he's not.
Yes, I watched it first, and Skyy was like, I can't wait to watch Bo Melton.
I'm glad you didn't ruin it for me.
And then you watch the film, and it's just not there. Like I said, is it Rutgers? Is it the quarterback? Is it Bo? I know we hated Isaiah Pacheco then too at the running back position, but yeah. Moving on to a school that produces excellent wide receivers, Alabama. John Metchie III then comes in at 5'11", 187, 9.25-inch hands. Did not participate at the combine, had an ACL tear in December, so recovering from that. But these past 2 years, he was very productive. 2020, 55 catches, 916 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then 2021, 96 catches, 1,142 yards, and 8 touchdowns, averaged 13.4 yards per catch. So I'm interested to see what you think of John
I want to hear
Metchie.
you first.
No, I went first with Bo. I want to see what your thoughts are first with John Metchie.
I will pretty much guarantee that there will not be many John Metchie shares for me because he did not grade as well as I thought he would. And I think people are going to be a lot higher on him than me. He's going to be a slot at the next level. Let's just get that out of the way. He's a slot receiver. That's it. Done. His release off the ball, his quickness off the ball is very quick. He has good moves to elude press, but if he gets jammed, he's in trouble. If people can get their hands on him, he's in trouble. And I think that's why he also doesn't have that down the field speed, that burner speed that's going to allow him to be successful outside. Can he go outside some? Sure. But he's primarily going to be a slot guy. He is one word as a route runner. Crafty. Crafty. He's not super quick. He has very average speed variation. He runs a good hitch. And sort of that stop, just able to stop. But he can be out physicaled. He creates just maybe a little above average separation. But I don't know if it's because he's just not fast with his breaks or if he takes too many steps, but I feel like the defensive backs know where he's going. I feel like he telegraphs his cuts somewhat. But good DBs will just drape him at the next level. So he's going to have a tough time. He had inconsistent hands. They're definitely not the most natural. 8 drops on 128 targets, and you saw a few too many body catches. So I mean, he's not bad. He's just not great. He's not a guy that's going to go up and get it, but he can catch the ball in traffic pretty well. So I think that he's not a jump ball type guy, but that can sort of win that contested catch that way, but he can win the ball sort of in traffic. He misplays a lot of deep balls I saw. I thought that he had a limited catch radius. So I thought his ball tracking was just very average. I thought that his body control was a little above average. And then when you get the ball to him in space, he can make a few people miss, and he's got enough speed to get plus yards. But you got to know, at Alabama, the field is literally stretched to the max because the people around him are so talented that he's going to have a big yak because that's just the way it is. He's in single coverage. He's alone, and he's going to get yards after the catch. And so I don't think that at the next level he's going to be a big guy in that regard. I think he runs probably 4.5 flat, so he got a 6 out of 10 for me. So what I'm saying is this guy is above average at a lot of things, not really great at anything, and he was a 67 for me. I think he's going to have to be a mid-second round pick for me, and I'm just not excited to draft him. Well, I'm interested to see the landing spot because I can't wait to hear your thoughts because I think I'm pretty low on him compared to what most people are.
Yeah, so my thoughts. I didn't love him, but I don't think I hated him as much as you did. I think he's a guy that offers a higher floor but a low ceiling.
Yeah, safe floor. What was your score? What was your score?
So I gave him a 72.
Okay, so that's not too far.
I thought he's not a physical guy, so he gets lower scores for that. His contested catches is not very well. I think he does okay as far as the ball tracking. I think he has very good body control. He always seems to be in motion. And you said he offers can make one or two guys miss, but and offers some. I put moderate yak potential, moderate wiggle. And I think I give him a 7 as far as his speed score. And then the quickness was also a 7. But I think what makes him safe is I think he's a very good route runner then. And he uses a very good speed variations on his routes then to throw defenders off then. And I think he creates a decent separation. There's times where the corner should stick with him, especially a more physical corner can sort of bump him off his routes then. But I think his route running makes him safe. Like have that floor and that draftable. And the guy I almost sort of comped him to. Yeah, well, he's never going to be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. He's going to need that number 1 guy on the team, and he can be a very good number 2 wide receiver. And I think that's what he always was at Alabama as well. And I actually comped him to this guy, and that's Robert Woods. So Robert Woods, when he was in Buffalo and made to be the number 1, he wasn't that guy. And also the quarterback play wasn't the greatest at Buffalo either when he was there. But when he got to Los Angeles then with the Rams, and he had Cooper Kupp, and he was that second guy, and he also had Cooper Kupp. He had Brandon Cooks, Sammy Watkins for a short period of time then. But Robert Woods is a very, very good number 2 wide receiver, and what they excel at there is that route running. So I don't think Robert Woods is the most explosive guy. I don't think he's the quickest guy, but he's a very good route runner, and I see that in John Metchie. Robert Woods is also a very good run blocker, which Metchie definitely needs to work on that a lot. But like I said, I think he's draftable. I would be ecstatic probably to get Metchie in that 3rd round.
He's not getting a 3rd round. Dude, he's not getting out of the 2nd. I'm talking about taking him mid-second, and I don't like him as much as you.
Yeah. Well, as far as mid-second would be fine. Like I said, because it depends on draft stock. Robert Woods was I think a 2nd round pick when he came into the league out of USC, a high 2nd round pick. But I don't see John Metchie there. But like I said, I like him. I think he's a safe play. And it's going to take time to come back from the ACL tear then too. So you got to factor that into things then. But I think he's very draftable. And I think a lot of these running backs are going to get pushed up then. And a lot of these quarterbacks are going to sneak into the back end of the 2nd round for your 1 QB leagues then. Obviously, Superflex, they go higher. And I think John Metchie could easily fall to that early 3rd round.
There's a 0% chance of that.
Well, we saw that the year when Deontay Johnson, you saw Terry McLaurin were dropping to the early 3rd round.
On name alone, John Metchie will absolutely be drafted in the 2nd round above probably the third quarterback.
Yeah, I guess that's true. With the Alabama, and how much success these Alabama wide receivers or high draft capital they've been getting here, that's probably true. But like I said, I feel good about John Metchie as far as a guy that you could possibly flex in years upcoming. Then I don't think he's ever going to be that consistent wide receiver, high-end wide receiver number 2 that Robert Woods is, but I see him possibly sneaking into that back end wide receiver 2 at times and wide receiver 3 on several seasons. So like I said, I like John Metchie, don't love him, and I think he offers some potential, but it's mostly that safe floor you're looking for. And I said it all comes down to his route running, which he's very good at.
Yeah, with my scoring and my draft board, he's a mid to late second round pick. So
even at that 67.
Yeah, at 67.
You have
a bad score,
you have about 25 guys higher than him.
No, that's not a bad score.
Yeah. Well, I think I've seen more guys, running backs in the 70s, quarterbacks in the 70s. I think he's going to slip the third round.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, well,
if he goes to Baltimore, he might go undrafted. No, I'm just kidding. He won't do that, but that would kill it. That would kill him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not. If he goes to Baltimore, like I said, if he goes to Philadelphia.
Yeah, Baltimore needs to draft Bo Melton.
Baltimore should just draft tight ends and just run like 8 tight ends down. All seam routes down there, and then hand the ball off or run with Lamar. That's the offense. Now, a guy that's definitely going to go higher than him in NFL drafts and rookie drafts, Skyy Moore out of Western Michigan, 21.6 years old, 5'10", 195, 10 1/4 inch hands. So some of the biggest hands in the class for only a 5'10" guy. He ran a 4.41, a 34.5 inch vertical, 125 inch broad jump, and a 7.13 3-cone drill.
So 85th percentile 40, 46th percentile vertical, 80th percentile broad jump, 19th percentile 3-cone. He did have a pro day, put up 15 reps on the bench, 62nd percentile.
So, and as far as production, very productive 2019. Had limited games in 2020, but in 2021, he had 95 catches, 1,292 yards, and 10 touchdowns, averaged 14.5 yards per catch. So I will start with Skyy Moore, and I'll start with my comp right away. So you're all going to think, what the heck is this dude talking about? But you know what I saw? I saw Austin Eckler playing wide receiver.
I don't hate that comp. I understand it.
Because you're seeing these 6'2", 6'3" guys. So it's a shorter guy at 5'10", but he's well built. He's solid. He's very quick. He has a lot of juice. You see that right from the beginning with his quick release, very quick feet. He runs solid routes, has pretty good separation then. He has very good hands, had a 3.1% drop rate. And he's a hands catcher. He looked very, very natural. And his physicality, he's not afraid to go over the middle. He has yards after catch then wise. He has very quick feet. He has great shiftiness and cutting ability. And I think from a ball tracking standpoint then, he's very solid from that standpoint. And he has very good body control. So he's a guy that's always in control, always making plays then. He was obviously the guy that was targeted a ton in this offense, and he produced on most games. I know he's limited in the Michigan game, but overall he was a very solid contributor. The one thing I have a knock on, with him being a shorter guy, he's not going to go up and get it, and he's not looking for him mostly on these deep balls, but I think he could be a sort of a slot receiver kind of guy that can also play on the outside at times then. And a guy that, like I said, he's not afraid to go over the middle, so he can make a catch in contested areas then, or with guys on him, and still hold on to the ball. But like I said, he's not going to be that necessarily a deep ball threat. But like I came away very impressed with Skyy Moore, so definitely like it better than John Metchie. I actually gave him a higher grade than Drake London as well. So he got a 78. 78 for me. I gave Drake London a 77. I think they're completely different players. And this is sort of a guy I tend to like more. I don't know if I'm drafting him higher than Drake London because you have to factor in the capital, the measurables, production, all that, and injury history. But when we do our sort of overall score then, but I really like Skyy Moore. I think he offers a lot of juice then. I think he's probably an underrated player. And I think anybody that watches film comes away appreciating the talents that you see with Skyy Moore. He's like I said, it may sound weird, but I gave him the Austin Eckler at wide receiver comp then.
Safe. That's what this guy is. His floor is super high. His ceiling I don't think is very high, but his floor is super high. He is not bad at anything. He is good at everything. He's only really good at a couple things. I think we saw very similar things. I actually gave him a 77. I don't come away as impressed as you do, even though our grades and I think what we saw is like literally the same thing. I just don't think I gravitate to these guys very much. And I think we'll just break him down here. So I think he is definitely a slot guy. Can he go out some? Yes, but he's going to have to operate in the slot. And to be honest, that's where he made his living anyway, because he excels catching in traffic. He's not, like you said, not that big jump ball guy that's going to go up with contested catches that way, but he's going to catch the ball in a herd of people and no problem. He had a 61% win rate, so pretty good. But his release off the line is okay. He has his okay speed. He is never slowed by press contact, so you're really going to have trouble pressing him. So that's why he can play out some. He is okay sudden out of breaks. He's not a very quick or sudden player. I didn't see that. Now, his stop is very good. He doesn't blow out of his breaks and create a lot of separation, but what he does do well and will absolutely translate is he understands route leverage. He understands how to sort of lean into routes and get as much separation as he needs. He's another crafty route runner. There's a lot of these in this class that, and these are the guys that are going to excel at the next level. He has excellent hands. Now, I'm not giving anybody a 10 that's not named Dotson after Spider-Man watching that film, but he's got 9 hands for sure, and I thought about dropping that 10 on him, but 3 drops, 125 targets, just natural, excellent hands, and ball tracking is really good. I thought he tracked the ball really well, and he has to because he doesn't have that sort of. I know he ran 4.41. I didn't see that speed. I thought he was a little slower because he doesn't get that downfield separation, but his ball tracking is spot on, and that's why he catches a lot of balls that are a little more down the field. His body control is definitely a plus. He will show those sort of great back shoulder catches and high points the ball with good timing. And when he gets the ball in his hands, just like Eckler, good comp, I don't mind it. He breaks tackles. It's tough to bring down this guy. He's not going to make you miss, and he doesn't have the speed that's going to blow by you. But good luck bringing him down. He had 26 missed tackles forced, and that's why. I gave him a 77. Basically the same score. We basically said the same stuff, and we basically grade him exactly the same. You love him. I don't. But I
tend not to give those high-end grades.
The only high-end grade I gave was a contested catch. He gets a 10. The dude catches every pass in the middle almost like he's Spider-Man, but he's not quite.
Yeah. Like I said, I think we have some variations when we get to those higher levels. But yes, a 78 is a very good score for me.
Gonna be a first-round pick, no doubt.
Yeah, he's and there's even talk now about him possibly sneaking into the back end of the first round of the NFL draft. If that happens,
yeah, going to be tough. It's going to be
no
tough for him to
discounts.
fall out of that top 7 picks.
There's no Skyy Moore discounts if he goes in the first round. Moving on to another high draft pick, another first round talent. Then that's Chris Olave out of Ohio State. He's going to be 22 years old when the season starts. Then comes in at 6 foot 187, 9.5-inch hands, ran a 4.38 40. I think he had they originally listed him at a 4.29 or something like that when they're showing the combine live. Ultimately got downgraded to that. Had a 32-inch vertical and a 124-inch broad jump. So where's that plot out at?
Yeah, so it's officially a 4.39 40, 89th percentile, 17th percentile vertical, 75th percentile broad jump, and then no further testing at Pro Day.
And as far as production, he's been a very consistent producer over the last 3 years at Ohio State. And this past year, he had 65 catches, 936 yards, and 13 touchdowns, average 15.4 yards per carry. So, Scotty, you get to go with Chris Olave first.
So, Chris Olave, he is very good in his own right. His speed off the ball, automatic mismatch. He can eat up press coverage off the ball with that speed. And you take one step, boom, he's there, top speed. Physical corners could definitely present trouble for him. They could definitely jam him. They could definitely reroute him because his physicality is not very good. There's times that when he was run blocking, he definitely looked overmatched, and he just got bodied up at times. So I think that if you had a faster physical corner, they could limit him. He's a super fluid route runner. He cuts without losing speed, and that's where he wins because his routes don't look sharp. There's a few routes he runs that are plus, but he doesn't have super sharp routes. He could definitely improve with some more speed variation, and then sort of some more sharpness to his breaks. But he is the type of route runner that it'll definitely translate. I think he's going to be undervalued as a route runner. He going to Ohio State, we see this every year. The offense hides so much, and you're so spread out. Teams don't want to press you. That some of these guys come in and they have some flaws in their game or things they need to work on. And I think that that's what this guy's going to have to do. He's going to have to learn to be a little sharper as a route runner to separate at the next level. And I think he's going to have a more developed route tree because he breaks off routes, stops, and comes back well. But he's not that guy that's going to run that slant and leave you. He's not that guy that's going to run that post and get open. He just does it with his straights, with his speed. And when you have corners that are scared, that are backed way off, you can run these slants and just get across the field quicker. You can run these seam routes. You can run these down the field routes and just leave people in the dust. And that's what he does. His hands are pretty good. 5 drops on 101 targets. Very sound, not super special, but sound hands. He has this is his best trait. He has sudden hands. On these jump balls, these deep balls, he has that just knack ability that he can wait to the last second, throw those hands up and catch the ball. So the defensive back just doesn't have time to adjust. That's a special skill that not a lot of people have. And that shows how much he trusts his hands and how well he tracks the ball. So for me, he got a 10 on ball tracking. There's one play against Michigan State. He makes this just insane over-the-shoulder catch. That just shows you how well he can see the ball. And his body control, when you get to see it, when he's not just running straight by everybody and wide open, he has plus body control. Graded him really high there. But when he gets the ball in his hands, he doesn't make people miss. He runs by people, and he gets gone, but he just doesn't. He's not super elusive. He's definitely not going to break tackles. But, man, that speed's elite. He got an 81 for me. So I liked him. I liked him a little bit more than I feel like I did.
Yeah, I gave him a 75.
He's better than Skyy Moore. No hands down.
I gave Skyy Moore a better grade. Like I said, am I going to draft? Is this sort of like Drake London? Am I going to draft Skyy Moore ahead of Drake London and Chris Olave? Because Chris Olave is another guy that some people are saying can be the first off the board. I see Chris Olave as a guy that's never going to be the number one in his offense. He's a number 2 receiver. And like I said, I don't dislike Chris Olave, but like I said, he's number 2. He's a guy that's not going over the middle. He's not going to have run after the catch. Not physical. His game's speed, and he's probably one of the smoothest players in the class. And I was wondering, are you running even that fast? But then you see him blow by guys, and it's just because he's so smooth, doesn't look like he's put much effort in it. And I put here, he's almost like he's gliding on the field. It's almost like he's walking on air.
He's a gazelle.
That's how smooth it is. What's that?
He's a gazelle.
He's a gazelle. No, like a cheetah. The cheetahs, they don't look like they're putting much effort into it.
Listen, there's one cheetah. Only one cheetah.
Yeah, but you're watching slow motion. He's going very fast, and that smoothness, that top end speed, I put him at an 8 for speed, but I'm gonna bump him up to a 9 here. So we'll give him a 76 then. And then you said it. He's very, like I said, body control just with that smoothness is excellent. He's very good at tracking the deep ball. I don't think he's very good at a contested catch though. I think when has a guy on him, things sort of break down from that standpoint. Unless he's blown by him and beats him just with the speed alone, then his
62% contested catch rate, 10 out of 16. And
I think
when you get to see it, you don't get to see it a lot, but when you do get to see it, he has those sudden hands. So I bumped him a little there.
I agree. I saw the sudden hands, but I don't think if he's gonna have trouble going in the middle, he's gonna have trouble on jump balls. And he's a lot. You see this with the Ohio State offense and the Alabama offense. These guys are wide open so many times, just with their athletic profiles. But you're not going to be wide open in the NFL as much as you see here. So I do worry about that. And like this, he's not. You said he's not going to break any tackles whatsoever. And he's not a big wiggle guy either. Like I said, he's more of that smoothness. And his best route is sort of a crossing route over the middle, then a deep cross, and he uses that speed to just run away from guys. As stated, the NFL is not going to be that easy, and I think he's going to need another wide receiver, a wide receiver one on his team to take that pressure off. And he could give you big games. He could have he'd be a wonderful best ball wide receiver. Yeah, because he's going to have some monster games. Is he almost like a Will Fuller type player?
Yeah, I think that's a really good comp. This is a guy that you put him in Kansas City's offense where they can use that skill. He's got higher end potential. The grade that I want to know is, what grade did you give as route running?
I gave him a 9 for route running.
See, wow, I only gave an 8. So what did you knock him on? What was, beside physicality? What was a 6 or less?
6 or less. Physicality's the 5. Contested catch is a 6. And then he got a few 7s, 3 9s, 2 8s, or 3 8s then.
Yeah, I thought his contested catch was not bad. He got an 8 for me.
Yeah, like I said, I have here, I didn't see much of it. So that's why I knocked him for. And then some of those deep balls where he had to actually high point it, I saw issues. But he does have that quick hands. He does well from that standpoint. Like I said, it's not awful. He's definitely still probably going to be a first-round rookie pick in all drafts, but I'm probably not going to be the guy that owns him.
Yeah, he's not a home run. He's not a home run swing. I'd rather have a few of these other guys. Yep.
I'm probably going to be drafting Dotson ahead of him. I'm going to be drafting Burks ahead of him. I'm going to be drafting Jameson Williams ahead of him. I'm going to be drafting Garrett Wilson. Oh, one of the points I want to mention is I came away liking Garrett Wilson more. You saw so much more explosiveness just even on plays that weren't featured for him. You saw him that catch and run ability, that breaking tackles, that high pointing. I can't wait to watch Garrett Wilson's film in depth. He looks awesome. and I wanted to see that with Chris Olave. So like I said, Garrett Wilson's could be my top guy, but I have to look at the film, and we'll talk about him in a later episode then as well. Haven't gotten quite to him quite yet, but he looked excited on the film just with that indirect look with Chris Olave. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him and where he goes in the draft. It's gonna probably bump him up because people are putting him in the top 10 going to Atlanta. I don't know if I would like that Atlanta, but we will see. But as always, check out the website, thedynastyinterview.com. Hit us up on Twitter at the DYN interview. Look us up on YouTube. See the film for yourself then. Subscribe. And new wide receiver videos going up every single day. And we always say we're going to start things earlier, but we'll have to start things earlier next year too. But we'll have film up on all these guys very shortly then. And tell us what you think. Tell us what you see. See if you agree with our opinions. If you don't, I'm interested to see what other people say as well then too. Each person I find likes different things. I don't know. We see a lot of the same things similar, but we've been doing this, talking about this for several years now, and I think we know what each other persons like then, and then we sort of come up with a consensus as far as things we like to see in wide receivers. But yeah, everybody has their own. So like I said, Drake London, maybe that guy for you. Chris Olave, maybe that guy for you. Or you may be that Treylon Burks and Deshaun Dotson guy like we are.
Yeah, lots of different flavors in this class.
Yeah, it's like Baskin Robbins, 21 different flavors. So that is all we got. This is Joseph Adrian signing off.
And this is Scott Martin, and you just listened to the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast.